Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Prabhu, can we start?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You can start, Mataji.
Om Jnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Okay, so we started the 11th chapter yesterday. So does anyone remember anything from yesterday?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
We see that how Arjuna's emotions were changed. He was in a friendly mood, then he went into the mood of wonder, then into awe and reverence, and then to fearful mood by seeing the whole pervasive form of Supreme Lord.
So wonder, fear, then awe and reverence. Yes, wonderful. Thank you. Anything else? Anybody wants to share?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, the devotees are not interested to see the God's universal form. The pure devotees they are interested to only see the God's Shyam Sundar form, which is the eternal, and universal form is temporary.
Yes, very good. So the devotees are not interested in the universal form of the Lord. And Prabhupada gives the reason because first thing is that it's temporary. And second, there's no relationship. And with this two-handed form of the Lord, one can actually form a rasa. There's a relationship. But with the universal form, there is no possibility of a relationship. So devotees don't particularly like this form. Okay. Anything else? Anandita? Jayadratha Prabhu, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Yes. That despite Dhritarashtra seeing all of this, he was still blinded by a hope that his son may come victorious in the battlefield. So I think we discussed on this point, like how Maya is so strong that even though God can be standing right in front of us, we may not recognize him. So that's what happened to Dhritarashtra, and he Duryodhana had also seen this ferocious a mini form of this universal form that is described in chapter 11. So I think, yeah, so despite seeing that, despite knowing, they still did not consider, they thought he was just a mystic.
Yeah, very important point that Dhritarashtra was so blinded by his attachment that he could not, even after hearing everything, even the outcome of the battle, still, he thinks that the battle should happen. Still, he wants his sons to fight. So we can see that attachment can actually blind us completely. Yeah, thank you. Anandita?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji. Mataji, in the beginning, Krishna was saying, Pasha, Pasha, Pasha. He stressed 3 times in the beginning 4 verses. That he was, in a sense, he was warning or reassuring Arjuna that I will show you this something very not seen form and unseen form. And then when Arjuna was seeing those forms, then he was saying, Pashyami, Pashyami, I'm seeing, I can see. And the whole, the Vishwa Roop was spread throughout all the 14 planetary systems in all directions, had 1,000 unlimited mouths, unlimited forms, unlimited bodily parts. And in that form, he can see all the demigods, all the sages, everybody sitting at one place, not diversified in so many places.
Thank you. Yes, so we see that Krishna shows his universal form. Initially, he shows the form which is not in action. It's a still form. And then he shows the Kala Rupa. And it is really terrible. And Krishna himself says, he'll say horrible form. So it's a scary form. And this Kala Rupa is the form that wasn't shown to Duryodhana. When Krishna showed his universal form to Duryodhana, he showed a partial universal form, but did not show this Kala Rupa. Duryodhana didn't get to see it. Thank you. Kanchana Varna?
Hare Krishna Mataji, we saw the attitude of Arjuna, the importance of attitude of gratitude. That in the very first shloka, first Arjuna is being grateful to Krishna for doing all the favor and everything. And also again in 4th verse, Arjuna was showing respect and honor in his speech. So there should be a mode in front of our spiritual master. And then we also discussed that Arjuna is seeing directly the 2-handed original form of Krishna. Then why he needs divine vision to see the universal form? So we saw that because the devotees need a different kind of vision to see the universal form of Krishna, because of their devotion.
Yeah, because the devotees are used to interacting with Krishna in a loving relationship. So they don't really get to see his opulence, because Krishna does not really like the awe and reverence mixed in his rasa with the devotees. So Arjuna also is in Sakhya, and we'll come to know today that how he was dealing with Krishna. He was dealing with Krishna as if Krishna was his inferior. And so Krishna likes that kind of dealings with his devotees. And that's why he's not able to see the universal form, and he needs a different vision to be able to see the universal form of the Lord. Okay, great. So let's move forward. Let's start with the 36th verse. Before we do that, I think Harshita yesterday requested to know the story of Jayadratha. How did Jayadratha get the boon from Shiva? So Anandita did mention it yesterday that, and I touched upon it, that when Pandavas were living in the forest after losing the gambling match, so Jayadratha one day passed by and he saw Draupadi, and he'd always been very, very attracted towards Draupadi because she was so beautiful. So Jayadratha saw her and decided to kidnap her. So he kidnapped her, and he put her in his chariot and he left. And Pandavas came just a little bit after that, and they came to know that this was done by Jayadratha. He had kidnapped Draupadi. So Arjuna went after Jayadratha, caught him, and brought him back. So when he brought him back, now Yudhishthira said he's our brother-in-law, because he is married to Dushala. So don't kill him. Don't kill him. So Arjuna decided that for the heinous act that he had performed, he definitely deserved some kind of punishment. So he shaved his head, Jayadrat's head, and left only 5 tufts. This was like a typical punishment for Kshatriyas. That when they in the Kshatriya society, then if you have like all your head is shaved and only there are 5 tufts of little hair, then people kind of come to know that you have fallen from your Kshatriya honor. You have done something really bad. So Jayadrat felt very humiliated that they had done that. So after that, he went and started doing tapasya to actually please Lord Shiva. Because most of these demoniac personalities like to go and worship Shiva because he's easily pleased. So he went, and then when Shiva came in front of him, he said, the boon I want is that I should be able to kill all these 5 Pandavas. So Shiva said, even I cannot kill them. So there's no possibility of me giving you that boon because they are under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Even I can't kill them. So then Jayadrat was a little disappointed. Then he said, okay, if you can't give me that boon, at least give me the boon that I can defeat them in the battle. So Shiva said, that's also not possible. So the only thing that I can give you is that you'll be able to check them once. That is the only boon I can give you, that one time you'll be able to check them. So when Abhimanyu, the whole episode of Abhimanyu took place, and so Abhimanyu didn't really know the whole art of how to actually get in. He knew how to get in, but didn't know how to come out. So when Arjun came to know, Jayadrat was able to invoke that boon given by Shiva, and he was able to stop all the Pandavas from helping Abhimanyu. And as a result, when Abhimanyu was killed, then Arjun decided that it is because of Jayadrat that my son was killed. And he was killed in a very unjust manner, like so many different warriors fighting against one person. So that's when he decided that I will kill Jayadrat tomorrow before the sun sets. And then the whole thing happened. And Jayadrat's father, he was actually performing a penance. He was doing tapasya for a long, long time, because he had heard from some rishi that Jayadrat was going to be killed very early. So he was performing this tapasya to prolong his life. So this rishi had given him this boon that if somebody cuts Jayadrat's head and that head falls on ground, then the person who cuts his head, his own head would be blown into millions of pieces. So Krishna knew this. And when Arjun shot an arrow to kill Jayadrat, he said, Arjun, shoot in such a way that his head falls in the lap of his own father, who's sitting and performing tapasya. So Arjun shot it like that, and that head fell in the lap of Jayadrat's own father, and his head blew into thousands of pieces. So we can see that this is protection of Krishna, how he protects his devotees at every possible step. And especially in Mahabharata, like I was saying yesterday, there are so many examples. If we read Mahabharata, it is unbelievable how Krishna protected Pandavas throughout. Sometimes we see that Pandavas had to suffer so much, and being pure devotees, they suffered so much. But if we see the flip side, how Krishna protected them at every step, then we can really relish that relationship between the devotee, pure devotee, and his Ishtadev. It's amazing. Okay, let's start with verse number 36. Somebody please read.
Arjuna Uvacha sthane rishikesha tav prakirtaya jagat prahashyatya anurajyate cha rakshansi bhitani trisho dravanti sarve namasyanti cha siddha sangha. Arjuna said, O master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done.
So Arjun here acknowledges that whatever Krishna does is actually good for all. Everyone benefits by his actions. So there are two reactions depending on one's relationship with Krishna. One is attraction and second is rebellion. So devotees, because of their relationship with Krishna, are attracted and they offer him respectful homage. But the demons, because they are rebellious, they're afraid because they know they are going to get punished. So they're afraid and they run here and there. So in the purport, Prabhupada says, this is towards the middle, Arjun understood herein that when the battle of Kurukshetra was being concluded, in outer space there were present many demigods, siddhas, and the intelligentsia of the higher planets. And they were observing the fight because Krishna was present there. When Arjun saw the universal form of the Lord, the demigods took pleasure in it. But others who were demons and atheists could not stand it, and when the Lord could not stand it when the Lord was praised. Out of their natural fear of the devastating form of Supreme Personality of Godhead, they fled. So even we see that in case of Nrsingadev, when you see the form as Ugra Nrsinga, so non-devotees are very fearful of that form. They don't like to keep a picture or anything to do with Ugra Nrsinga at their place. But devotees are not fearful of that form at all. They think, oh, this is such a wonderful form of the Lord for the protection of his own devotee. So when we see Ugra Nrsinga, we are not fearful. We like him very much because we see him as someone who has specifically come to protect his own devotee. So similarly, when the universal, the non-devotees or the demons see the universal form, the Kala Roop, and they get very scared because they can see that the Lord in the form of time will destroy them. But for a devotee, death comes in the form of Krishna. They are not worried at all. They know that on this side was Krishna, and after death is also Krishna. There's nothing to be fearful. Even if one is not able to go back home, back to Godhead, but a devotee has full faith in Krishna's promise that Bhakti is never destroyed. One continues from where one left off. So one knows that, I'm going to continue from where I am now. I'm going to continue. In the next life, I have nothing really to fear. So that's the mood of a devotee. So Prabhupada says, in all cases, a devotee glorifies the Lord because he knows that whatever he does is good for all. So devotee knows that Krishna's action for non-devotees may be unfathomable or they may not be able to digest it. But a devotee knows that whatever Krishna does, in whichever way he acts, is always for the benefit of everyone. Everyone benefits. So even like Krishna, so many people getting killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, like we discussed yesterday. Everyone got liberated, at least liberated, at least. And then depending on their rasa, some even attained Vaikuntha planets, some just got Brahmajyoti, but that is also a very big thing compared to going through the life in this material planet, right? So they are getting liberation. So they are getting a chance to move up. So this was Krishna's special benediction. 37.
कस्माच्च तेन नमेरन् महात्मन् गरीयसे ब्रह्मणोऽप्य आदिकर्त्रे अनन्तदेवेश जगन्निवास त्वम् अक्षरं सदसत् तत्परं यत् O Great One, greater even than Brahma, you are the original creator. Why then should they not offer their respectful obeisances unto you? O limitless One, God of gods, refuge of the universe, you are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to this material manifestation.
Yeah, so these are Arjuna's offering these prayers. So he's actually, now he knows that he has seen the universal form and he has seen the proof that Brahma is actually part of that universal form, and Krishna has manifested that universal form. So Krishna is much higher than Brahma. So he can see that. So Prabhupada in the purport says, by this offering of obeisances, Arjuna indicates that Krishna is worshipable by everyone. He is all-pervading and he's the soul of every soul. Arjuna is addressing Krishna as Mahatma, which means he is most magnanimous and unlimited. Ananta indicates there is nothing which is not covered by the influence and energy of the Supreme Lord. And Devesha means that he's the controller of all the demigods and is above them all. He is the shelter of the whole universe. So Arjuna also thought it was fitting that all perfect living entities and powerful demigods offer their respectful obeisances unto him, because no one is greater than him. So he's saying, why should they not be offering obeisances? Everyone should be offering obeisances, because you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are you're greatest of all. So everyone should be offering obeisances to you. There should be no doubt in that. Next, 38. May I very humbly request some of you to please turn on your cameras. I can understand you may be tired or whatever. I'm also tired, but my camera is on. So please switch on your cameras. Yeah, 38.
Hare Krishna. Tvam Adideva Purusha Puranas Tvam Asya Vishwasya Param Nidhanam Vittasi Vityam Cha Param Cha Dhama Tvaya Tatam Vishwam Anantarupam. You are the original personality of Godhead, the oldest, the ultimate sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You are the knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are the supreme refuge above the material modes. O limitless form, this whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you.
Yeah, so this, it sounds very similar to what Krishna said about himself earlier. In 9.4, he said, by me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I'm not in them. So we can see that Arjuna is pretty much repeating what Krishna had said. He's saying that, you are the knower of everything. You are the supreme refuge above the material modes. The whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you, like that. So why is Arjuna repeating? Because he's amazed to see that form. He's amazed to see everything in Krishna's form, everything within Krishna. So he's repeating the words of Krishna, which Krishna himself had said in 9.4. So Prabhupada says, Nidhanam means that everything, even the Brahman effulgence, rests on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the knower of everything that is happening in this world, and if knowledge has any end, he is the end of all knowledge. Therefore, he is the known and the knowable. He is the object of knowledge because he is all-pervading. And because he is the cause in the spiritual world, he is transcendental, and he is also the chief personality in the transcendental world, Adi Deva. 39.
Ayuryamugnirvarunah shashankah Prajapatistvam prapitamahascha Namo namaste stu sahasrakritvaha Punascha bhuyopi namo namaste. You are air and you are the supreme controller. You are fire, you are water, and you are the moon. You are Brahma, the first living creature, and you are the great grandfather. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you 1,000 times, and again and yet again. Yeah, so now Arjun is like totally
under awe and reverence, and he's offering obeisances again and again. And he's saying, I'm offering obeisances unto you 1,000 times, again and yet again. And Prabhupada in the purport says, the Lord is addressed here as air, because air is the most important representation of all the demigods, being all pervasive. Arjuna also addresses Krishna as a great grandfather because he is the father of Brahma. So he is addressing him as Prapitama. Pitama is Brahma, and Prapitama means father of Pitama, my great grandfather. And he's also addressing him as fire. Fire, because Agni is the mouth of the Lord. So when yagyas are done and ahuti is offered to Agni, so it acts like the mouth of the Lord, and this is how Vishnu accepts those offerings. And then he says that you are water. Why? Because water means what? Water means if you see that by his perspiration, he creates the whole Garbhodak ocean, and in which Garbhodaksha Vishnu actually lies down. And also this perspiration of the Lord in the form of water enters this universe as Ganga. So that's why he's being compared to that you are water and you are the moon, because moon gives the essence or taste to everything. Everything becomes tasty because of moon. So moon, whatever taste is there in anything, the giver is moon. So you give the essence to everything. That's why he's compared to moon. Okay, so basically what he's trying to say is that Krishna is the elements, and he's also the controller of all the elements. All the elements come from him. He is compared to the elements, and he's controller of all the elements. So this is what Arjuna is trying to say in his glorification. 40. Harshita?
Mataji, here Arjuna is addressing Krishna both as the father of Brahma and as Brahma himself also.
Yeah, because Brahma is the first living creature. So he is a guna avatar. He's a guna avatar of Krishna, right? In what sense is he guna avatar?
Rajoguna avatar.
Rajoguna. He's the guna avatar. He's the first creature, and he is the one who's in the closest contact with Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Sometimes that contact is so close that if there is no jiva who can really play the role of Brahma, Garbhodaksha himself plays the role of Brahma. Okay, so that is why he's calling him as Brahma and also as Prapitama, father of Brahma, great grandfather.
So Mataji, when Arjun says you are fire, so Krishna has already explained before that he's the heat in the fire. So he means to say that you are the heat in the fire, right? That you are the essence. You're not like, and then you are what?
He's the essence in the fire, and also his the fire acts like his mouth for accepting all the sacrifices.
And then when he says you are water, so Krishna previously said Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya. So in that reference, he is saying you are water.
In that reference also, and also because the perspiration of the Lord acts like that fills up the Garbhodak ocean. That in a universe that water which is at the bottom where Garbhodaksha Vishnu lies is Garbhodak ocean. That is nothing but the perspiration of the Lord.
So he is saying that water, not the water that we.
Anything. I mean, that's also an interpretation. It's not, it's not just one interpretation. You can interpret it like that, or you can interpret it like this also.
So you are the moon, you already explained because moon gives taste. So you are Brahma, I'm still not able to understand. Like he's a guna avatar, but so is Lord Shiva, but he's not saying you are Shiva.
Because Brahma is the first creature. Shiva comes from Brahma. Brahma is the first. Sorry?
So why is he saying you are Brahma? Like, I'm not understanding.
Because you expand as Brahma, so you are Brahma.
So he also expands as so many other incarnations.
So if he is not saying that, so does this statement become wrong?
Why no, it doesn't become wrong. Just specific mention of
Because
Brahma.
he's talking about Brahma even in the verse before that you are even greater than Brahma. Then now he's saying that you are Brahma because you are also expanding as Brahma, and he is the first creature, Jiva in the cosmic manifestation. So that's why you are Brahma. No?
Okay.
Okay, let's move forward. 40.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Namaha purastadath prishtastaste namo astu te sarvata eva sarva ananta viryamita vikramastvam sarvam samaparoshi tato asi sarvah. Obeisances to you from the front, from behind, and from all sides. You, O unbounded power, you are the master of limitless might. You are all pervading, and thus you are everything.
Yeah, so now Arjun is so overwhelmed that he's addressing Krishna almost as, oh, everything, like everything, you are the source of everything. And then he is paying him obeisances, repeated obeisances, like we saw in the previous verse also. Now he's saying, I'm paying obeisances from front, behind, from all sides. Whichever way I see you, I'm paying my obeisances to you. So Prabhupada in the purport says that out of loving ecstasy for Krishna, his friend, Arjun is offering his respects from all sides. He is accepting that he is the master of all potencies and all prowess and far superior to all the great warriors assembled on the battlefield. So he knows that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one can even come anywhere close to you. So he's paying him obeisances again and again. Next. So see, this is so interesting. If you think about it, that Arjun has been with Krishna for like ever, right? But now that he sees his opulence, he's gotten so overwhelmed. This is the difference between the devotees from Braj and other devotees. When Vrindavan devotees see the opulence of Krishna, nothing happens to them. They think, okay, whatever, we have seen this, maybe something, we are not seeing it correctly. Maybe he's not well. Maybe somebody has done some magic on him. So they think like that. They don't get overwhelmed by the opulences of Krishna. But other devotees, when they see the opulence of Krishna, it for some time overshadows their natural rasa with Krishna. So that is why the devotees from Vrindavan are at the level they are, because their rasa with Krishna is so strong that his opulence does not overshadow it even for a moment. 41, 42.
Saketi matva prasabham yaduktam he Krishna he Yadava he Saketi ajanta mahinvanta vedam maya paramadat pranana yena vapi yat Chawah sartam asatkrato asi viharasayasna bhojaneshu eko athavapi achyuta tat samaksham takshamaye tvam aham aprameyam. Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all those offenses.
Yeah, so we can see that Arjun is overwhelmed to see the universal form and to actually realize the potency of Krishna, his power. And he's saying that I addressed you as O Yadava. Why? Why is Yadava considered a lower something as an insult for a Kshatriya?
Because Yadava belongs to Vaishya community. So they are lower than Kshatriyas.
No, because Yadavas were the sons of, basically Yadava race is coming from Yadu. And Yadu was the son of Yayati, who was cursed by Yayati. This comes in the 9th canto. Who was cursed by Yayati that because you did not exchange your youth with me, you will never be able to rule. You are not going to rule. So they were cursed that they will never become the rulers. They can, take the position of like a semi-ruler, but never like the topmost ruler. So by saying Yadava, he's kind of reminding him that you are not meant to rule. Whereas as Kurus, we are the rulers, as Kurus. And also when he says that Yadava, he's actually kind of reminding him that you're a son of Vasudev. I am the son of Pandu. Pandu is a great warrior. He's a Maharathi. But Vasudev is a Adhirathi. That is, Adhirathi is a person. He does not ride the chariot alone. Two Adhirathis ride the same chariot because they are not so great they don't have such great prowess and they cannot fight so well in a battle. So they are called Adhirathis. So Vasudev is an Adhirathi. So by reminding him as Yadava, he's basically telling him that, I belong to Kurus. My father is Pandu. He is a Maharathi, but Vasudev is Adhirathi. So all these things, now Arjuna is realizing that, Krishna must have thought that I'm actually insulting him by calling him all these things and calling him, oh, my friend, in a way that although you're lower than me, but out of my compassion and, affection for you, I have decided to make you my friend. So, to something like that, to that effect. So now he's really repenting that I'm calling you, oh, Krishna, I should have actually addressed you with a lot more respect because you are to be respected by everyone. But I'm just calling you, oh, Krishna, or oh, Yadava, oh, my friend. And I have done this in madness. I was mad not to realize. And there were so many times that I shared the bed with you. I lay down with you on the same bed. And my position is that of a servant. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How dare I do that? So now Arjuna is really repenting. So now he's saying that please excuse me for all those offenses. So we can see, this is like I was saying in the earlier verse, this is such a contrast from the mood of Brajvasis. Brajvasis, they rebuke Krishna, they insult him, they call him all kind of bad names and not even regret it even for a moment. So, and Krishna says that when Jatila or Kutila, they abuse me, I find those words sweeter than the hymns of Vedas. I enjoy it much more than I enjoy the hymns of Vedas. And in CC, I think it is Adi, fourth chapter, where it is said, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that Krishna really likes it when the beloved calls him all kind of bad names and insults him. He enjoys it very much. He enjoys it very much that this person has no idea of who I am. This person is totally oblivious to my opulence. And they are relating to me as one-on-one, on a personal level. And Krishna really enjoys that. But we can see in case of Arjuna, he's become completely overwhelmed. He will come back to his original, relationship, original rasa. But for some time, he has been completely overwhelmed. So that is the greatness of the devotees in Vrindavan. Nothing really shakes them from their rasa, nothing. Krishna can show them universal form, his Chaturbhuj Roop. They couldn't care less. Whatever is this, we don't care. So So now Prabhupada in the purport says, it's a very beautiful purport. Prabhupada says, although Krishna is manifested before Arjun in his universal form, Arjun remembers his friendly relationship with Krishna and is therefore asking pardon and requesting Krishna to excuse him for the many informal gestures which arise out of friendship. He is admitting that formerly he did not know that Krishna could assume such a universal form. Although Krishna explained it as his intimate friend, Arjun did not know how many times he may have dishonored Krishna by addressing him, "Oh, my friend, oh, Krishna, oh, Yadava," etc., without acknowledging his opulence. But Krishna is so kind and merciful that in spite of such opulence, he played with Arjun as a friend. Such is the transcendental loving reciprocation between the devotee and the Lord. The relationship between the living entity and Krishna is fixed eternally. It cannot be forgotten. As we can see from the behavior of Arjun, although Arjun has seen the opulence in the universal form, he cannot forget his friendly relationship with Krishna. So Prabhupada is basically saying that he's remembering that Krishna is actually my friend. So although he's overwhelmed, but the basic rasa is still there. He's overwhelmed for some time, but he knows that my relationship with Krishna is on the level of friendship. Anandita?
Mataji, when I read the meaning of this verse during my college time, like much before, so even I got also overwhelmed with this. And even I started crying that how Arjuna is repenting, how he addressed him and now he's repenting. But the real mood of this address and the real understanding I got to know in the association of devotees only, in my classes, in association with Prabhupada also, obviously through his books only. And this is the Arjuna's rasa is Aishwarya Yukta rasa, right?
Because outside of Vrindavan, all the rasas, even Madhurya, even Vatsalya, they all have tinge of awe and reverence. They all have tinge of awe and reverence outside of Golok Vrindavan.
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, as I don't remember exactly, but Yayati was the one who asked his sons to exchange their youth so that he can enjoy. But here you said that didn't shared, so they were.
Yeah, because Yayati had 3 sons. So he asked Yadu first. Yadu refused that because Yadu knew that in his dynasty, Krishna is going to appear. And he wanted Krishna to appear really quickly in his dynasty. So he said that if I, change my youth with you, and you want to enjoy for thousands of more years, so that's going to delay Krishna's appearance in my dynasty. So he refused that, no, I don't want to exchange. But Puru did. Puru exchanged. And as a result, Yayati blessed him and said that your descendants are always going to be the rulers. And he cursed Yadu that your descendants would never rule. So it is mentioned by our acharyas that they would never become the primary rulers. They can be like secondary rulers, but they will never become the primary rulers because that was the curse of Yayati.
So is the whole thing mentioned in the Bhagavatam? I don't remember this.
Yes, it's in the 9th canto.
Okay.
Yayati episode.
So Kauravas come in the descendancy of Puru, right?
Yeah, Puru. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Pururava, and then Pururava. That's the dynasty of Kauravas. Okay. 43.
Pitasi lokasya characharasya tvamasya pujascha gururgariha natvat samostyabhya abhyadhika kuto anyo lokatraye apratima prabhavaha. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation of the moving and the non-moving. You are its worshipable chief, the supreme spiritual master. No one is equal to you, nor can anyone be one with you. how then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of the immeasurable power?
Yeah, so we can say that this mood is continuing and he's again and again paying obeisances. So Prabhupada in the second paragraph says, the Lord is being paid obeisances in all respects. He is of immeasurable greatness. No one can be greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, because no one is equal to or higher than Krishna within any manifestation, spiritual or material. Everyone is below him. So, and Arjuna is realizing this, and he is offering his prayers and offering his obeisances. Okay. And yes, and Prabhupada towards the end of this purport says that only Krishna is God and everyone else is a servant. Everyone is complying with his order. There's no one who can deny his order. Everyone is acting according to his direction, being under his superintendence. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, he is the cause of all causes. So if we really follow Arjun's mood, then this should be our realization also. We should also try to understand Krishna's position and come to our constitutional position of Jivera Sarupaya Krishnera Nityadas. Yeah. So when we read these verses, we should also start to have faith in this and start to act on that level. Start to act in our constitutional position. Right now, we may be acting, maybe say 10%, but we may still be acting as controllers, proprietors, and enjoyers. But once we realize Krishna's supreme position, then slowly we should come to the platform of acting in our own constitutional position. 44. Yeah, someone please read.
Hare Krishna. Tasmat pranamya pranidhaya kayam prasadaye tvam aham isham nityam pitteva putrasya sakheva sakhyu priya priyaya hasideva shodham. You are the Supreme Lord. You be worshipped by every living being. Thus, I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, a friend, the impertinence of a friend, or a husband, the familiarity of his wife, please tolerate the wrongs I may have done you.
Yeah, so Arjun, this is what is playing on his mind, that, the way I treated Krishna on an equal terms. So he's now asking for forgiveness, that, you are very merciful, but we have a relationship of friendship. There's a relationship that we have. Just like a father, a son may do all kind of crazy things, but ultimately father would forgive him and tolerates his son's misbehavior. And a friend also, if one is a real friend, then, a friend may do crazy things, but the other friend forgives and tolerates. So please, please forgive all the wrongdoings that I've done. And now we can see that he's almost begging Krishna for forgiveness and asking that, please don't take all my wrongdoings seriously. I did that, not really realizing your position. But now that I have realized that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and you are just about everything comes from you. So I was a fool to actually treat you the way I did. So please forgive me. So Prabhupada in the purport says, Krishna's devotees relate to Krishna in various relationships. One might treat Krishna as a son, or one might treat Krishna as a husband, as a friend, or a master. Krishna and Arjuna related in friendship. As a father tolerates, or the husband or a master tolerates, so Krishna tolerates. Next, 45.
अदृष्टपूर्वं दृशितोऽस्मि दृष्ट्वा भयेन च प्रव्यथितं मनो मे तदेव मे दर्शय देवरूपं प्रसीद देवेश जगन्वास. After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened, but at the same time my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe.
So why is Arjun feeling gladdened to see the universal form?
Because we, like in text 2, he was so joyful on knowing that Krishna is so powerful. So here, when he's practically seeing, so again he's feeling joy.
That, oh, I have such a powerful friend. And also, Prabhupada mentions in the purport, another reason why you think Arjuna would be gladdened. Because he desired to see the form and Krishna has shown him that form. So he's feeling happy that Krishna has fulfilled my curiosity. My curiosity has been satisfied. So Prabhupada says that Arjun is always in confidence with Krishna because he's a very dear friend. And as a dear friend is gladdened by his friend's opulence, Arjun is very joyful to see that his friend Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and can show such a wonderful universal form. But at the same time, after seeing that universal form, he's afraid that he has committed so many offenses to Krishna out of his unalloyed friendship. Thus, his mind disturbed out of fear, although he had no reason to fear. Arjun therefore is asking Krishna to show his Narayan form because he can assume any form. So he's saying that you please show me your Narayan form. When he says that you show me your form as a personality of Godhead, O Lords of the Lord, O Lord of the Lords, O abode of the universe. So acharyas have actually translated this as Arjun's desire to see the four-handed form. And Prabhupada further down says, Arjun desired to see one of the forms manifest in the Vaikuntha planets. Of course, in each Vaikuntha planet, the form of Narayan is four-handed, but the four hands hold different arrangements of symbols, the concha, mace, lotus, and disc. According to the different hands these four things are held in, the Narayans are variously named. So let me see if I can share this with you. One second, I'm just opening the folio. Okay, I'm going to share. So you can see this is Madhya 20. And here it says the expansions of Pradyuma Vikrama. Okay, hold on. Okay, here. The Lord Sridhar holds the lotus, disc, club, and conch. Lord Rishikesh holds club, disc, lotus, and conch. So the way they hold these four things differently in their hands, their names change. Lord Padmanabh holds conch, lotus, disc, and club. Lord Damodar holds lotus, disc, club, and conch. Then Lord Purushottam holds the disc, lotus, conch, and club. Lord Achyuta holds club, lotus, disc, and conch. So, this is all given in Madhya, that how they are known by different names by seeing what they hold in which hand. If they hold, conch in, say, the lower left hand and lotus in the upper right hand, then, they are named differently depending on what they're holding in which hand. So that's what Prabhupada is referring to here, that according to the different hands, these four things are held in, the Narayans are variously named. All of these forms are one with Krishna, and therefore Arjun requests to see his four-handed form. Yes, Anandita.
So Mataji, we chant 13 names while putting tilaka on our body. So are these prominent 13 names of Vishnu or what's like that?
Yes, they are the prominent 13 names. So if you, how many of you are aware of Vishesh Achman or Vaishnav Achman, the long Achman? Okay. If you do that, then you'll hear more names of the Lord. So you apply different tilakas and you hear different names of the Lord. It's basically for purification. Especially when those who go to the altar, normally we do Achman with 3, right? Om Keshavaya Nama, Om Narayana Nama, Om Madhavaya Nama. And sometimes we also do Om Govindaya Nama, right? But the Vishesh Achman has lot more. These 13 tilakas names, and after that, some more. So yes, they are the prominent ones, but there are more. Okay, 46.
Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrahasta. Kiritinam Gadinam Chakrahastam Ikshami Tvam Drashtum Aham Tathaiva Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena Sahasrabaho Bhava Vishwamurte. O universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form.
Now, so the Acharyas say that Arjuna had not seen this four-handed form before. He had only heard of this form, that Krishna appeared in four-handed form, and then he changed his appearance to a two-handed form. So now Arjuna is saying that, I now want to see the four-handed form because I want to see this all opulent form of yours, which I have not seen before. So Prabhupada says, 4 lines down, but Arjuna knew that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, assuming his temporary universal form. He is now asking to see the form of Narayan, a spiritual form. This verse establishes without any doubt, the statement of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead and all other creatures originate from him. This is Krishna's Tu Bhagwan Swayam. Yeah. Next. 47.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Prasannena Tavarjunedam Rupam Param Darshitam Atma Yogat Tejo Mayam Vishwamanantamadhyam Yanme Tvadanyena Drishta Purvam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you by my internal potency the supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence.
Okay, I see. You are not able to see me. Okay. Maybe I should do that. I should keep my camera off. I think it's a good idea. Okay. So Krishna is basically saying that I'm happy to reciprocate with you, Arjun. You are my pure devotee. I'm happy to reciprocate with you. And he is also happy to see that Arjun is not really trying to worship the universal form of the Lord. He wants to come back in his rasa with the Lord. So Krishna is very happy. So he decides to fulfill his desire. So Prabhupada in the purport says, Arjun wanted to see the universal form of the Supreme Lord. So Lord Krishna, out of his mercy upon his devotee Arjun, showed his universal form full of effulgence and opulence. This form was glaring like the sun, and its many faces were rapidly changing. Krishna showed this form just to satisfy the desire of his friend Krishna. Then he says, no one had seen this universal form of the Lord before Arjun, but because of the form was shown to Arjun, other devotees in the heavenly planets and in other planets in outer space could also see it. They had not seen it before, but because of Arjun, they were able to see it. Then Prabhupada says, someone has commented that this form was shown to Duryodhan also when Krishna went to Duryodhan to negotiate for peace. Unfortunately, Duryodhan did not accept the peace offer, but at the same time, Krishna manifested some of his universal forms. But those forms were different from this one shown to Arjuna. It is clearly said that no one had ever seen this form before. And the Acharyas comment that the form that Duryodhan saw did not have the effulgence of the universal forms shown to Arjun, and it did not have the Kala feature. He could not see the universal form in action. So it was just a partial display of the universal form. Okay, next. 48. इसको बढ़ा सकते. Okay, go ahead.
न वेदयज्ञाध्ययनेर्न दानेर्न च क्रियाभिर्न तपोभिरुग्रैः एवं रूप शक्य अहं नृलोके द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीर. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances can I be seen in this form in the material world.
So he is indirectly saying that all these, this form can only be seen by bhakti, not by all these things. So Krishna is indirectly saying that. And Prabhupada actually elaborates on these different words, just different things, sacrifices, charity, Vedas, pious activities in his purport. So Prabhupada says that the Bhagavad Gita gives description of the universal form. Although this description was unknown to everyone before Arjuna, now one can have some idea of the Vishwarup after this incident. Those who are divine can see the universal form of the Lord, but one cannot be divine without being a pure devotee of the Lord. So he's saying that the only way one can see is if one is a pure devotee. Then Prabhupada says in this verse, there are some significant words like Veda Yagya Dhyaya Neha, which refers to studying Vedic literature and the subject matter of sacrificial regulations. And then he says that Veda refers to all kinds of Vedic literature. One can study these at home or anywhere else. Similarly, there are sutras, Kalpa Sutras, Mimamsa Sutras for studying the method of sacrifice. Dane refers to charity, which is offered to a suitable party, such as those who are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. Similarly, pious activities refer to the Agnihotra and the prescribed duties of the different castes. And the voluntary acceptance of some bodily pain is called tapasya. So one can perform all these, can accept bodily penances, give charity, study the Vedas, etc. But unless he is a devotee like Arjuna, it is not possible to see the universal form. So Prabhupada is saying that in his purport. In the last paragraph, towards the end, he says, The followers of a pseudo-incarnation may say that they have also seen the transcendental incarnation of God, the universal form. But that is unacceptable because it is clearly stated here that unless one becomes a devotee of Krishna, one cannot see the universal form of God. Then he says, the last line, a devotee of Krishna cannot accept false incarnations or followers of false incarnations. Yeah, so basically what Prabhupada is trying to say, that Krishna shows this form to protect devotees from imposters. So Krishna has shown this form, so devotees now know that, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can show a universal form. So any imposter claiming to be God, so now that becomes the benchmark. One can test them by asking them to show their universal form. Anandita.
Mataji, I forgot to ask you one question. When you were mentioning about, we were, I think in the 10th canto, when Krishna was mentioning about the feministic qualities.
About which?
No, not that chapter. Earlier, when Krishna said that Striya Shudras, they can also get liberation. Paramgati.
Oh, yes, 9th chapter. Yeah.
Shudras and Vaishyas and Strī. Then that time, I think you mentioned about that earlier in the next shloka. Then you mentioned that in earlier times, in Vedic times, the women are not supposed to send to the Gurukul, and the lower class were not supposed to read the Smriti and Smriti Shastras or
Shruti Shastra. They could read Smriti, but they could not read Shruti.
What's the difference between Shruti and Smriti?
Is Bhagavad Gita your first course in this? Bhakti Śāstrī, you've not studied Ishopanishad?
No.
Okay.
In both the batches, in Hindi and English, this Bhagavad Gita is first taught.
Oh, okay. Because when you study Ishopanishad, whoever teaches you will probably share a chart with you of different kind of Shruti Shastras and Smriti Shastras, and how Upanishads are part of Shruti Shastra, and Smriti Shastras are like Mahabharata, Ramayana, all these are Smriti Shastras. So the idea of Shruti Shastra is something which is directly heard from the Lord or spoken by the Lord. And Smriti Shastra, like the name suggests, is something that the sages have heard and later on they decided to compile it. So Vaishnavas consider Smriti Shastras to be very important because they are actually an explanation of the Shruti Shastra. But Smarta Brahmanas do not consider Smriti Shastra to be at par with Shruti Shastra. So in Vedic society also, the Shruti Shastra were considered to be higher than Smriti Shastras. So the lower caste were not exposed to Shruti Shastra. And we can even see this in Bhagavatam, where Vyasadeva is feeling despondent before he started writing Srimad Bhagavatam. He's despondent that he had not actually only talked about devotional service in any of the Shastras that he had compiled. And then he says that he had actually compiled Mahabharata for those people like Vaishya, Shudras, and women, because they can't access the Shruti Shastra. So Mahabharata was compiled for those people, that they won't be able to understand, they don't have access, but Mahabharata they can have access to, because Mahabharata is a Smriti Shastra.
Okay, so the Vedas are also the part of Shruti.
Yes, and that is why you will say, I'm sorry I didn't point it out to you before, because I thought you people had done Ishopanishad, because traditionally Ishopanishad is done first before Bhagavad Gita. But the reason Prabhupada gives so many examples from Upanishads is to satisfy those who think that we'll only believe if this is in the Shruti Shastra. So when he talks about the omnipotence of Krishna, when he talks about Krishna being the source of everything, when he talks about Krishna being the Supreme Personality of God, you'll see that he gives from Mundak Upanishad, this Upanishad, Kain Upanishad, that Upanishad. He gives some Puranas also. Puranas are Smriti Shastras. He gives from Puranas also, but he gives from Upanishads also. so that he can satisfy all kinds of audience and make them accept the statements of Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay.
One question, Mataji, is Gita, since it's part of Mahabharata, so Mahabharata is Smriti, but Gita, is it Shruti or is it Smriti?
It's very interesting. It's Shruti within a Smriti. So Gita is Shruti, but in time Mahabharata is Smriti. So that's it. That is why it's also known as Gita Upanishad, because it's a Shruti Shastra. So that's why Prabhupada gives that, when he explains, he gives the purports to Bhagavad Gita. He knows that Smartas are going to read Bhagavad Gita. So when he gives his purports, he gives, like he supplements it with other Upanishads, so that if somebody decides to misinterpret what Krishna is saying, they should be given evidence from other Upanishads that this is how it is meant to be interpreted. Yeah.
Thank you.
For him.
Mate vyathama cha vimura bhavo drishva rupam ghoramidram mamedam kvapeta bhipritamana punastvam tad eva me rupam idam prapasya. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire.
Yeah, we can see he's so loving and so compassionate. So, Krishna can see that my devotee is so perturbed. So he says, my devotee, be free again. Don't worry about that form. Don't let it disturb you. Now, with peaceful mind, I wish just become peaceful, because I'm going to show you my four-handed form that you desire to see. So just see the loving reciprocation of Krishna. He's so concerned, he's so kind and so loving with his devotees. So Prabhupada in the purport says, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjun was worried about killing Bhishma and Drona, his worshipful grandfather and master. But Krishna said that he need not be afraid of killing his grandfather. When the sons of Dhritarashtra tried to disrobe Draupadi in the assembly of the Kurus, Bhishma and Drona were silent, and for such negligence of duty, they should be killed. Krishna showed his universal form to Arjun just to show him that these people were already killed by their unlawful action. That scene was shown to Arjun because devotees are always peaceful and they cannot perform such horrible actions. The purpose of the revelation of the universal form was shown. Now Arjun wanted to see the four-armed form, and Krishna showed him. So Prabhupada again says that the devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. Either a devotee wants to offer his respectful, worshipful feelings, or he wants to see the two-handed Krishna form so that he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the whole purpose of the universal form was to deliver Arjun from his guilt of killing Bhishma and Drona, so that Arjun should not harbor that guilt and not let his mind use that as an excuse to not follow Krishna's order. Okay? Next, 50.
Sanjay Vacha Itya Arjunam Vasudevas Tathoktva Swakam Rupam Darshayamasa Bhuya Ashvasayamasa Chabhitamenam Bhutva Punha Saumya Vapur Mahatma. Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form, and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna.
Now, if you look at the shloka, Sanjay uses the word Swakam Rupam. So Swakam Rupam refers to the Chaturbhuj form. It is also a personal form of the Lord. And Saumya Vapur means the two-armed form. which is very beautiful, the beautiful form. So now Krishna first showed his four-armed form to Arjun, and then he immediately went to his two-armed form, the form that Arjun had a relationship with. So Prabhupada says that when Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayan. But when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjun was not interested in seeing a four-handed form. But since Arjun asked to see this four-handed form, Krishna also showed him this form again, and then showed himself in his two-handed form. So he's sitting in the heart of his devotee. He exactly knows what my devotee can relate to and what my devotee can't relate to. But since the devotee has asked to see the form, Krishna does so and immediately comes back to his two-handed form, with whom Arjun can share his eternal rasa. Okay, next, 51. Harshita.
Mataji, why is the four-armed form called as the real form? Real form is Krishna, no?
Yeah, the real form is Krishna, but in Vaikuntha, except for Goloka, in Vaikuntha, in most of the planets, he has a four-handed form, four-armed form. So that's why it is being said as the real form, but actually the two-armed form is the real, because he in the Vaikuntha, he pervades in his four-armed form. That's the reason it has been spoken like this. And it is a personal form. It is his real form. It is not something which is impersonal or not like a universal form. It's a personal form of the Lord. He expands in his four-armed form in the Vaikuntha planets.
So Mataji, somehow it is unfortunately very prevalent. Like before coming to ISKCON, I also thought this ki from Vishnu comes Krishna. So this was like the people who are not, who have not read Bhagavatam, who have not read Prabhupada's other books. So they will just use this verse to see, see Narayan form, four-arm form is the real form. So
yeah, that this can cause confusion, but one thing you'll see that Narayan cannot exhibit a two-armed form. Narayan cannot exhibit a Krishna form, but Krishna can exhibit a Narayan form. What does that mean?
that from Krishna comes the Narayan form.
Yeah, that means just like when in Brahma Samhita, Brahmaji talks about Lord Shiva, he says that he's like the curd and Krishna is like the milk. Milk can perform the duty of or activities of curd. Milk can be transformed into curd, but curd can't be transformed back into milk. So Shiva can never become Krishna, but Krishna can become Shiva. Similarly, Krishna can change to a four-handed form, but Narayan cannot change to a two-handed form. So that shows which form is higher. Very reluctantly, Harshita has agreed.
I was just thinking how to prove to them that it is actually this thing.
You can tell them that
Yes,
what you're saying is partially true. What they are saying is partially true, because in this, Prabhupada talks about this in the beginning of his Krishna book, that in this material universe, all the incarnations of Krishna, they descend in this material world through Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So yes, they know that part. They know that, okay, from Vishnu, all the incarnations are coming, but they don't know what is behind that. That actually Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is an expansion of an expansion of an expansion of an expansion of Krishna. That bit they don't know. So what they're saying is partially true. We don't deny it, but they don't know the entire thing. They don't know the whole story.
So we can just quote them from Bhagavatam.
Yes, we can quote from Bhagavatam. We can even quote from Bhagavad Gita. That, Krishna is showing all these forms. He's able to show all these forms. That shows that he is the basis and he can take on any form. Okay?
Thank you.
Anandita?
Mataji, Arjun was perturbed. So why did he say to show the four-armed form rather than the original two-handed form? And also it is written, and you also just mentioned that he has never seen. Then has he ever heard of the four-handed form?
I said that he had heard of the four-handed form, that when Krishna appeared, he appeared in a four-handed form, and then he took the form, like the regular two-handed form he took after appearing as the four-handed form. So now Arjun is actually curious because that curiosity is there. So now that he's asking him to show his forms, so he's saying, okay, let me please also see that form that I've heard of. So that's why he's asking him to show his four-handed form. Four-handed form of the Lord is a personal form, and it also holds all the different weapons, which Krishna form doesn't really. It holds all the weapons. So it is said that when Arjun was feeling perturbed, he wanted to take shelter of that form of the Lord, which was personal, at the same time, which was holding weapons to protect him. And then he will revert back to that, okay, this form is great, but I don't really have any rasa with this form. And that's what Krishna knows. And that's why Krishna will ultimately show him the two-handed form. Is that okay?
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, you just replied to Harshita Mataji that Narayan cannot exhibit Krishna's two-handed forms. Okay? So we all have accepted it on the basis of Prabhupada's writings. But others can say that, when Krishna or Ram incarnated, they came as four-handed form. Then they changed himself into two-handed forms. Then how can you say that Vishnu cannot change into two-handed form?
Yes, because Krishna chose to appear in that form because he wanted to assure Devaki and Vasudeva that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead and I have appeared. Now you don't need to worry. Because they were very scared that Kansa is going to kill all their children. So the acharyas mentioned that the reason Krishna appeared in the four-handed form was that if he had appeared as two-handed form, Vasudeva and Devaki may not have been convinced that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So just to convince them that, you performed so much tapasya in your past life to have me as your child. So I have appeared. I have appeared. So just to convince them, he did that.
Yeah, it's written. It's written in the Krishna book also. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
And if people still argue, first of all, those who will argue will go on arguing. So you can only do so much. If people just want to argue, then after a certain time, you just have to kind of accept that they are there just to argue. It's a waste of time. But also you can tell them that, okay, he appeared like that, but later on, when did you see a Narayan from Vaikuntha form appear like Krishna? It never happened after that, because that appearance is actually Krishna in his original form. But he chose to take that form because he wanted to convince. Jai Advaita Prabhu?
Is there a verse that states that Narayan cannot take a two-handed form?
No, not that I'm aware of. Maybe it's there, but I'm not aware of it. Yeah. 51.
Arjunavacha drishtvedam manusham rupam tava somyam janardana idanimasmi samvritta sacheta prakritim gataha. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "O Janardhan, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind, and I'm restored to my original nature."
Yeah, so now Arjuna is completely pacified. He's seen it all. He's seen the universal form, he's seen the four-handed form, and now he's seeing the two-handed form of the Lord, and he can relate to this form because he has an eternal relationship with this form. And Prabhupada, in his purport, is angry at the foolish commentators. So it's a very nice purport. Prabhupada talks about them, and he says the words Manusham Rupam clearly indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be originally two-handed. Those who deride Krishna as if he were an ordinary person are shown here to be ignorant of his divine nature. If Krishna is like an ordinary human being, then how is it possible for him to show the universal form and again to show the four-handed Narayan form? So it is very clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita that one who thinks that Krishna is an ordinary person and who misguides the readers by claiming that it is the impersonal Brahman within Krishna speaking is doing the greatest injustice. Krishna has actually shown his universal form and his two-handed Vishnu form. So how can he be an ordinary human being? A pure devotee is not confused by misguiding commentaries on Bhagavad Gita because he knows what is what. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun. They do not require lamplight from foolish commentators. So Prabhupada uses a very nice analogy in his purport that, they are taking a lamplight and trying to illuminate Bhagavad Gita, which in itself is self-effulgent like a sun. So it's so foolish to do that. Next, 52.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Tu Durdarsham Idam Rupam Drashtvam Asiyan Mama Deva Piyasya Rupasya Nityam Darshana Kankshinaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjun, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear.
Yeah, so now Prabhupada in his purport, this is a very nice purport, Prabhupada says, in the 48th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded revealing his universal form and informed Arjuna that this form is not possible to be seen by so many pious activities, sacrifices, etc. So we read this verse just now. Now here the word Sudarsham is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a little tinge of devotional service to various activities like penances, Vedic study, and philosophical speculation. It may be possible, but without a tinge of bhakti, one cannot see. That has already been explained. Still, beyond that universal form, the form of Krishna with two hands is still more difficult to see, even for demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. Then Prabhupada says in the at the end of this paragraph that Krishna in his two-armed form is actually desired to be seen by demigods like Brahma and Shiva. So even they are very curious to see this form of the Lord. And in the second paragraph, he says, but for some who make a study of Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita or similar Vedic scriptures, Krishna is a problem. For one using a material process, Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and very learned philosopher. But he is an ordinary man. Even though he was so powerful, he had to accept a material body. Ultimately, they think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that from this impersonal feature, he assumed a personal feature attached to material nature. This is the materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. Another calculation is speculative. Those who are in search of knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Supreme. Thus, some think that the universal form of Krishna, which was manifested to Arjuna, was more important than his personal form. So, Prabhupada in his purport is talking about two kinds of people who reject Krishna's original form. One impersonalist and one worshippers of the universal form. Okay. And at the end, Prabhupada says, the conclusion is that although to see the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for anyone and everyone, it is still more difficult to understand his personal form as Shyama Sundar. 53.
Naham vedena tapasa na danena na chejaya shakya evam vidho drashtum drashtavan asimam yatha. The form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am.
So almost similar to the 48th verse that we studied, almost similar. This is the indirect glorification of Bhakti. So he's saying this, that one cannot really know me as I am by doing all this, by studying the Vedas, by penances, by charity, or by worship. And Prabhupada says that Krishna first appeared before parents Devaki and Vasudeva in a 400 form, then transformed himself into a 200 form. This mystery is very difficult to understand for those who are atheists or who are devoid of devotional service. For scholars who have simply studied Vedic literature by way of grammatical knowledge or mere academic qualifications, Krishna is not possible to understand. Nor is he to be understood by persons who officially go to the temple to offer worship. So Prabhupada is saying they can visit, but they can never understand Krishna as he is. 54.
Bhaktya tav ananya shakya ahamevam vidho arjuna gyatum drishtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding.
Okay, so now Krishna is directly glorifying Ananya Bhakti. This is an Ananya Bhakti verse. He's directly glorifying. We saw in the last verse that he was indirectly glorifying Bhakti, but now he's directly glorifying Bhakti. So Prabhupada says in the first line, Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. There is no other way to actually understand him. And then Prabhupada talks about, which paragraph is this one? Second. 1, 2, 3. The third paragraph, he talks about the personal forms of Krishna. The 200 form and the 400 are described as Sudarsham. Very difficult to see. They are completely different from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. The 400 form of Narayan and the 200 form of Krishna are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. So Prabhupada is saying that it's very, very difficult. And then before that, in the purport, Prabhupada is saying that, if somebody wants to give any kind of charity, they should give it for the propagation of Krishna consciousness. And he also says that for beginners, it is very important to go to the temple and establish a relationship with the deity. Temple worship is essential for the beginners. And then Prabhupada says that this is fifth paragraph. Krishna changes from the universal form to the 400 form of Narayan, then to his own natural form of 2 hands. This indicates that the 400 forms and other forms mentioned in Vedic literature are all emanations of the original 200 Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, what to speak of the impersonal conception. As far as the 400 forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical 400 form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who's lying on the cosmic ocean, and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord. And now we can see that he will start quoting. He's quoting from Brahma Samhita about Krishna being the cause of all causes. Then he quotes from Gopal Tapani Upanishad. And then he quotes again from Brahma Samhita. So this is how Prabhupada actually uses the Shruti and Smriti Shastra to give evidence of what he's saying. And in the last paragraph, Prabhupada says, the universal form is not attractive for pure devotees who are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationships. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjuna, who was so intimately related with Krishna in friendship, This form of the universal manifestation was not pleasing, rather it was fearful. Arjuna, who was a constant companion of Krishna's, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was not captivated by the universal form. This form may seem wonderful to persons who are involved in elevating themselves by fruitive activities. But to persons engaged in devotional service, the two-handed form of Krishna is the most dear. So this is also Prabhupada's mood and mission. So 55, the last verse of this chapter.
Mat karma karmat paramo mad bhakta sanga varjitaha nirvaira sarva bhuteshu yasa mam eti pandavaha. My dear Arjun, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me.
Yeah, so now Krishna is giving 5 very, very important instructions. What are these instructions? He who engages in my pure devotional service, free from contamination of fruitive activities and mental speculation. He who works for me, he who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being. So, Prabhupada in the first paragraph says, anyone who wants to approach the supreme of all personalities of Godhead on the Krishna Loka planet in the spiritual sky and be intimately connected with the Supreme Personality Krishna must take this formula as stated by the Supreme himself. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because one can really know how to reach Krishna Loka. The Bhagavad, then further down in the same paragraph, he says, the Bhagavad Gita is meant to show how one can understand his spiritual existence and his eternal relationship with the Supreme Spiritual Personality, and to teach one how to go back home, back to Godhead. Now here is a verse which clearly explains the process by which one can attain success in his spiritual activity, devotional service. Then Prabhupada in his purport explains the 5 words used by Krishna in the shloka. Mat karma krin, first, mat paramo, mat bhakta, Sangvarjita, and Nirvaire. So Prabhupada explains these 5 words that Krishna uses. So first he starts with Mat Karma Krin. So he says that as far as work is concerned, one should transfer his energy entirely to Krishna conscious activities. No work should be done by any man except in relationship to Krishna, and this is called Krishna Karma. That one should perform everything in relationship with Krishna. How can one do that? How can one perform every work in relationship with Krishna? Ashita.
By keeping the consciousness, right?
Yeah, by reminding oneself of who we are working and not be attached to the results, and do it under the guidance of a spiritual master. Because sometimes our mind can play tricks on us. So doing it under the guidance and not being attached to the fruits in the proper consciousness. That's how we can do this. And so Prabhupada gives the example. For example, one may be engaged in business, but to transform that activity into Krishna consciousness, one has to do business for Krishna. If Krishna is the proprietor of the business, then Krishna should enjoy the profit of the business. If the businessman is in possession of thousands and thousands of dollars, and if he has to offer all this to Krishna, he can do it. This is work for Krishna. Instead of constructing a big building for his sense gratification, he can construct a nice temple for Krishna, and he can install the deity of Krishna and arrange for the deity service, as is outlined in authorized books of devotional service. And this is all Krishna Karma. Then after a few sentences, Prabhupada continues, if one constructs a very big building for Krishna and installs the deity of Krishna, one is not prohibited from living there. But it's understood that the proprietor of the building is Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. This is Mat Karma Krin. And in the next paragraph, he explains Mat Parama. He says the word Mat Parama refers to one who considers the association of Krishna as in his supreme abode to be the highest perfection of life. So for such a person, the goal of life is Krishna. He considers Krishna as the goal of his life. And Prabhupada mentions that he has no attraction for any of the higher planets in this universe, including the Brahmaloka. He is only attracted to being transferred to the spiritual sky. And even in the spiritual sky, he is not satisfied with merging into the glowing Brahmajyoti effulgence, because he wants to enter the highest spiritual planet, namely Krishna Loka. Then further, after 2 lines, he actually defines what Mad Bhakta means, the word used by Krishna again. As indicated by the word Mad Bhakta, he fully engages in devotional service. So here, Mad Bhakta means that such a person actually performs pure devotional service. He's doing Shuddha Bhakti. Specifically in the 9 processes of devotional service, devotional engagement. These 9 processes are Navvida Bhakti: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping. One can engage in all 9 devotional processes, or 8, or 7, or at least in 1, and that will surely make one perfect. Okay, and then next paragraph, it speaks about Sangha Varjita, that one should disassociate from persons who are against Krishna. Not only are the atheistic persons against Krishna, but so also are those who are attracted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. So even Mahaprabhu gives this instruction not to associate with materially inclined people, because if we associate with them, then we will also get attracted to enjoying in this material world. So that's what Prabhupada says. That's what Sangha Varjita means. And then he quotes from Shanagati, Hari Bhakti Vilas, the verse used for Shanagati by Sanatana Goswami. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam. That one should accept what is favorable for one's devotional service, and one should reject what is unfavorable for one's devotional service. And in the next paragraph, then Prabhupada talks about nirvaire. A devotee of Krishna is friendly to everyone. Therefore, it is said here that he has no enemy. A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotional service to Krishna can relieve a person from all problems of life. So he has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce this system into human society. So Prabhupada then gives the example of Jesus Christ, Haridas Thakur, Prahlad Maharaj, and how these people were trying to deliver others by introducing Krishna consciousness in their lives. And in the last paragraph, Prabhupada summarizes, and he says, in summary, the universal form of Krishna, which is a temporary manifestation, and the form of time, which is the Kala Rupa, which destroys everything, and even the form of Vishnu, 4-handed, have all been exhibited by Krishna. Thus, Krishna is the origin of all these manifestations. It is not that Krishna is a manifestation of the original Vishwarup or Vishnu. Krishna is the origin of all forms. There are thousands and hundreds and thousands of Vishnus, but for a devotee, no form of Krishna is important but the original form, 2-handed Shyama Sundar. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, those who are attracted to the Shyama Sundar form of Krishna in love and devotion can see him always within the heart and cannot see anything else. One should understand, therefore, that the purport of this 11th chapter is that the form of Krishna is essential and supreme. Thus, end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of universal form. Okay. Any question before we end today?
Yes, Mataji. One thing, just like the example here is given of a businessman who gives profit to Krishna. I just want to know that how one can remain motivated without being attached to the results.
This is the classic yoga paradox, that if, what's in it for me? If there's nothing for me, then why should I really do it? This is the classic paradox. And this is what a devotee has to rise above. It is not about me, it is about Krishna. And also to understand that that example, that if Krishna is pleased, I being his part and parcel could experience bliss. In this material world, we can try to enjoy independently as much as we desire or as much as possible. But we cannot experience the bliss unless and until Krishna is involved in the picture. And all of us have the experience to a certain level in our devotion life, that the bliss that we get from Krishna consciousness is not the same that we have experienced in the material world ever. So one has to come to this understanding that this is my performance as a sacrifice for the pleasure of Krishna, and once he's pleased, I being his part and parcel will experience that bliss. And that is why I need to do this for his pleasure.
Okay. Only way, I mean, we get if we develop this understanding, we can rise above.
Yeah. Otherwise, it always stops at the point, what's in it for me?
Mm.
Right? What am I going to get? Why should I do this? And sometimes devotees do get caught in this trap. Why should I really work hard on my Krishna consciousness if I'm not meant to enjoy anything? But what we don't realize is by working sincerely and seriously, we will come to the point of experiencing the bliss that we can never experience in the material world. Okay.
Thank you, Mother.
Any other comment, question before we end today? Okay, so thank you all for being very patient, and God willing, okay, Anandita?
Mother, we cannot leave you so early.
Only 13 minutes.
Only 13 minutes. I know, Mataji, I'm having very nostalgic feeling. I don't know. You are saying that tomorrow you are going to finish 12 chapter.
I hope so. I hope so, God willing. We should be able to finish the 12th chapter tomorrow. There are only 20 verses in that chapter. And it's a very sweet chapter, really. It's one of my favorite chapters. I really like that chapter. So it's a very nice chapter.
Why don't you take one more class reading some of your notes or relations? So whatever you want to share, that what you have heard from the devotees, and you want to share with us so that we can also learn.
I don't really want to bore anybody, I think the students will welcome that, they got one day free to study on their own. So we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, Mataji, is there any way that we can contact you? We can ask you some questions in future through email or WhatsApp, whatever.
You can contact me, but let me warn you, I'm very, very bad with responding. You can write to me, but I somehow am not able to get around responding to all the messages that I get. I'm very bad at it. But you can write to me for sure. But don't expect a quick answer. I will ultimately respond. I respond to all the messages, but when is something that I'm not sure of.
No, that's fine, Mataji. Okay. That all tutors say that we may not reply instantly, but we will reply. So yeah, that's fine. I know that we all know that you must be very busy.
So 95% of the messages I respond to, maybe some of them slip by, but it's not intentional. So, okay, thank you. Jai Advaita Prabhu.
So it's a question not related to what we studied, just a general question I got today, and I wasn't sure about the answer from a devotee perspective. So the question is that can we celebrate the birthday of people who have departed this world?
Can you clarify, give more clarification? What are you
So the question from the person who asked me was that we should not celebrate the birthday, we should celebrate their death ceremony. So
For devotees, like, devotees who have departed, or
in this case, the person we're talking about is my mom. So she was a devotee, but in general, I'm asking if it is not a devotee, what is the scriptural injunction there?
if I'm not sure of scriptural injunction, I can't give you the reference, but for a non-devotee, we don't really celebrate the birthday, because they didn't do anything spectacular with their human form of life. But yeah, we offer the Shraddha ceremony because that is a duty performed. That is done as a duty because if they have not gone to any proper destination, so by giving them Vishnu remnants, by giving them remnants of the Lord, that's the duty we have. That we try to ensure that they actually get a better destination. So that's why we do Shraddha. But scriptural injunction is that one who is Krishna conscious doesn't really need to do Shraddha, because by their Krishna consciousness, even at a neophyte stage, the 7 generations get delivered, automatically delivered. But some of the devotees still do it because, it's also a sign of humility that I don't really consider myself Krishna conscious. So let me at least try to do and benefit my ancestors in whichever way I can. So that is done. But for a devotee, if the devotee has departed, and you can celebrate their birth and all the important events in their life, because this is a celebration of their devotion. And this is also a way to remember a devotee. So remembering a devotee is always great. Krishna is not separate from his devotees. You read in NOD, when it is the definition of pure devotional service is given, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Gyan Karmadi Navritam Anukulen Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttama. There Krishna is defined as not just Krishna, but Krishna with his paraphernalia, with his energies, with his devotees. So Krishna is not separate from his devotees. So if you remember a person who was a devotee on their birthday or any other significant occurrence in their lives, there's no harm in that. That may be beneficial only.
And in general, can we say to non-devotees that would it be okay to say on a birthday, instead of celebration, they can do some charity? Is that?
Yeah, on their birthday, they can actually feed Brahmanas or Vaishnava Brahmanas. So, and say that this, basically it's like a sankalpa that you take, that I am feeding these Vaishnava Brahmanas on behalf of this person. So that person will get devotional credit. Wherever they are, they will get devotional credit for that, for actually feeding Vaishnavas. So we can do it that way.
So that in turn can really be considered as a celebration, but it's a Vaishnava celebration. That's what we do, isn't it? Like
even death is done like that. When we feed, like we'll see in the temples on Shraddha for devotees, when they do Shraddha, then they feed all the Vaishnavas. They feed all the Vaishnavas on behalf of that departed personality. So that they get the benefit of feeding so many Vaishnavas. And Krishna says, I eat through the mouth of my devotees. So they are also getting the benefit of eating prasadam and also getting the benefit of serving the devotees.
Thank you.
Anandita?
Mataji, may I add one point to this question? We see that many of our friends are not devotees, right? They are contributing in some occasions. So I have just recently heard from one of the devotees that one of our Bhakti Vriksha member, she has inspired so many of her friends who are in a way they are not connected to any classes of following Krishna consciousness. But what they have started doing, they have started giving donation for the Food for Life. And in our temple, every day, the prasad has been distributed. So that has inspired them that, okay, so we are going, rather than going outside on the roadside giving something, that is also not offered. But in the temple, they are coming themselves. They are offering, they are giving Rajma Chawal or kheer or khichdi, whatever. So in a way, their Lakshmi is getting purified and they're getting blessings also.
So
This can also be done.
Charity of any kind can be done Krishna consciously. There are some people who are attached to distributing food. So Food for Life is the way out for them. There are some people who are attached to educating children. They want to give for the purpose of education. So that also can be used. We have Gurukuls, you can sponsor a child, you can donate for somebody's study in the Gurukul, you can sponsor for some books. So like that. So the idea of what a devotee does is a person who's not accepting Krishna consciousness directly, they see what their inclination is, where are they likely to serve. Some people like to give donation for Janmashtami. So we collect donation from them on Janmashtami. Every Janmashtami, we religiously call them and collect donation. So different people have different inclinations. So, and some people may want to actually serve those who are sick. So we have the whole devotee care department where, they take care of sick devotees and provide for their medicines and different kind of care. So their Lakshmi could be brought in for that. So depending on the inclination of the person, he or she can be engaged in the service of the Lord by giving it a Krishna conscious turn. So yeah, that's why it is said Krishna Bhakt Bada Chatur, because he knows how to engage everyone in devotional service. Harshita?
Hare Krishna Maharaji, it's 9:30 only.
Yeah, I figured. I figured this. Thank you. Tell me.
Maharaji, you said that even in the neophyte state, 7 generations. So is it so it is not necessary for us to actually become pure devotee and liberated to liberate our ancestors?
It is said when Prahlad Maharaj requests, when Nrsimhadev comes and asks him to ask for a benediction. So initially Prahlad Maharaj refuses. He says, I'm not a businessman. I have not worshipped you to ask for a benediction. But when Nrsimhadev says, no, I really want you to ask for a benediction. So Prahlad Maharaj says that please, may I request you, if you want to give me this benediction, please deliver my father. And in the purport, Prabhupada says that for a pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj, and the Lord tells him that your father has already been delivered. You don't have to ask for it. And the Prabhupada in the purport explains that for a pure devotee, 21 generations up and down are delivered. For a Madhyama devotee, pure devotee means a Uttama devotee. For a Madhyama devotee, 14 generations up and down are delivered. And for a Kanishtha devotee, 7 generations up and down are delivered.
It's mentioned in the purport?
Yes, it's mentioned in the purport. Prabhupada mentions it.
Oh, I've read, but I'm
in the purport, I have read that Prabhupada has mentioned 21 generations by way of 7 backward and 7 upward, and 7 because that person has taken birth in some other families in some other birth also. So that 7 generations will also be liberated. In this way, Prabhupada has detailed how 21 generations can be liberated.
Yeah, the Acharyas comment that 21 upward, 21 downward. So,
Krishna, for the pure devotees.
Yeah, for the pure devotee. Mahabhagavad. This is Mahabhagavad category. In any family, what appears, they all are delivered. They will delivered in the sense, when we talk about deliverance, it does not mean that they immediately go back home, back to Godhead, or they get a mukti, but they get that solid platform to perform devotional service. That's what deliverance here means. We have to understand that nobody has free access to the Vaikuntha planets. Only by devotional service can you access Vaikuntha planets. But when we talk about deliverance, it means that they are given a solid platform to practice bhakti and thereby become devotees and go back home, back to Godhead.
Before coming to Krishna consciousness, when I used to hear from other saints about this was giving so much of relaxation, just if one becomes a devotee and automatically 21
This is actually the best thing you can tell your parents if they are against your joining Krishna consciousness. You tell them that by my bhakti, you will be delivered. And 7 generations will be delivered. So most of parents become pacified by that. No, really, then please go on practicing.
Fortunately, my parents are not against, but my mother-in-law is not favorable. She is saying that you ruined the family. Why have you come here? You should have become Mirabai.
You can tell her that you will be delivered and all the ancestors will be delivered. No pitra dosha.
She will not understand, Mataji. I don't know. She's hard not to be cracked.
If that's the case, then you just give them prasadam. Just give them pastries and cakes from the temple. And sooner or later they will be, because that doesn't look like traditional prasadam. People can accept it easily. So then when Krishna so desires, they will become devotees.
Yeah. Prasadam in any ways, in home, everything is prasadam. What I cook.
Yeah.
She cooks, so that's a different thing. But what I cook, it's a prasadam.
I've seen that it works wonderfully if you bring pastries and cakes from the temple. Maha cakes.
I do bring Mataji.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Harshita, we are over time.
Mataji, I just wanted to ask that you mentioned mother-in-law will also get delivered. How only our blood relations?
If she is a devotee, her husband will eventually become a devotee.
Oh.
And eventually, maybe 15 years, but eventually he will become a devotee. The bhakti is very infective. It cannot, nobody can remain away from it for a very, very long time unless and until that person is a serious offender. So I've seen that ultimately the spouses do come around. Sometimes it takes 10 years, sometimes it takes 15 years, but they do come around. So once he becomes a devotee, she'll be delivered.
Mataji, regarding free ticket, like you said, no one can reach the Krishna log without themselves practicing. So many times we read in Prabhupada's books that if because of us, even one single person becomes a pure devotee, then we get a free ticket. So what does that mean?
That means that you will almost, it is assured that next life you will go back home, back to Godhead, because you'll get such a platform.
Oh, but we'll be able to practice so intensely that we will become purified. Okay.
That's why we hear when you pull Jagannath's cart, you are going to be delivered. How does that happen? By pulling Jagannath's cart, you will get an opportunity whereby you can practice Krishna consciousness very, very strongly, and you will go back home, back to Godhead. So then that becomes the catalyst.
That can happen in this lifetime also. That by
why
pulling
not?
this wow. Thank you.
Mataji, let be this in this life only, not the next life, because this Kali Yuga is getting so much deteriorated.
Yeah, a devotee must remind oneself of that I need to become serious in my practice. I need to be sincere. But ultimately it depends on Krishna, and a devotee should also accept that I will do the best I can, and then I will depend on Krishna whenever he desires, because the door to Goloka opens from inside.
Yes.
So he has to open it for us. We can't force him. We can't pull it and say, okay, let me come in. It doesn't open like that.
Mataji, like Prabhupada also mentions, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions in his Shikshastam na dhanam na janam. In the last verse also he said, whatever you do, I'm yours. You are my worshipable Lord. And Acharya also says that though Prabhupada has mentioned innumerable times, go back to Godhead, go back to Godhead, but he has something higher meaning also, because Acharya says that Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that make me as a worm of the stool. But in the family of devotees, this is something very, very high level, Mataji. Though it's very easy to say, it's very easy to contemplate, it's very easy to have that desire, but very difficult to.
That is why Prabhupada says, go back home, back to Godhead. Finish your business here, go back home, back to Godhead. Because we need something to keep us inspired. We need to see a goal to keep us inspired. But also Prabhupada in many purports says that a devotee does not even desire to go back home, back to Godhead. A pure devotee is just happy to serve Krishna in any circumstance. So till the time we reach that level, our goal is to go back home, back to Godhead. And that's what we strive for.
Yes,
all right.
So,
Okay, now I need to go. Thank you so much.
Please go, Mataji.
We'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories.